You are here for episode 30. That's right, 30 of Motherhood Unmasked. And I just want to take a moment and thank you for being here. Whether it's your first time listening or your 30th, every episode is about helping you find confidence on your mom journey without comparison or compromise. And I'm your corner woman. So let's get into today's topic, shall we? This is Motherhood Unmasked, the podcast for real talk about the challenges moms face. I'm your host, Vanessa Harris, but you are the hero. I'm grateful to connect with you today. Hey there, Mama Bear. Vanessa here with more compassion, candor, and clarity for you, the mom who wants to move from overwhelm to owning motherhood. I'm so glad you're here, and if you're new, welcome. You're catching me in an awkward spot right now. Nothing weird, just in the middle of reviewing my results on a parenting assessment recommended to me by a colleague, friend, and fan of the podcast. And I figured it'd be fun to use my quiz results as a jumping off point for a discussion on these parenting traits as tools to add to your motherhood toolbox. If you haven't checked out the last couple of episodes, you should, because we covered 3 of the parenting traits in episode 29. And before I even knew anything about these quote unquote 7 traits of effective parenting, I tackled the first trait, intentionality, in episode 28, because intentionality is my jam. Okay, so today we're wrapping up with what I'll call my struggle traits. And speaking of intentionality, these are the traits I lean into more because they don't come naturally to me. Before I do that, though, let me give my disclaimer. I have not read the book, The 7 Traits of Effective Parenting, that the assessment is based on. So this is not a review of the book published by Focus on the Family, just my take on how we can make use of these traits as moms. Well, first up is gratitude. And gratitude is difficult when you're a recovering perfectionist like me, because I am quick to notice what's not right or where there's need for improvement before acknowledging, much less celebrating, the wins along the way. And a steady diet of that will crush anyone's spirit. So it's really amazing this wasn't my lowest score, because my negative Nadine ways, my apologies if your name is Nadine, but my negative bent is by nature and nurture. I'm melancholy by temperament, and I'm also the daughter of West Indian immigrants. And my dad is the one who thought a 92 on a test was okay, but would ask why it wasn't higher. So when you add that in with rejection issues, you can see why gratitude isn't my default. And I knew when I became a mom, I didn't want to burden my kids with the unattainable goal of perfectionism. And then also as a Christian, there's just no place for it since no one's perfect but Jesus. So I've learned over the years to celebrate progress over perfection. But I won't lie to you, I have been in the middle of fussing at one of my kids before I remember to be grateful for how far they've come. And that's where my weakest and final traits we'll cover come in. The Wonder Twins, called grace and forgiveness, and also adaptability. You know, the struggle with gratitude has everything to do with the ability to forgive people's humanity and give them kindness they don't deserve, especially when they throw a wrench in your plans, a wrench forcing you to either adapt or snap. And the one needing grace and forgiveness first is you, mama. Motherhood doesn't come with a manual. And on top of the on-the-job learning aspect, you don't even know what issues you still deal with from your childhood until your child wakes them up in you. And then it's a race to adapt and deal with your stuff so you don't screw them up too. But your child doesn't know that. They don't know that you're dealing with that. They don't know to stop triggering your guilt and shame, and it's not their responsibility. But if you don't recognize that's what's going on, you'll snap at the very ones you don't actually want to hurt. And I know I've given my fair share of apologies. But that's where forgiveness comes in, because you will make mistakes on the journey. But if you're kind to yourself when you do, it's so much easier to cut your child slack when he makes his mistakes and appreciate that though he may not be where you hoped he'd be, you're grateful for how far he's come. And when you forgive yourself, you stop beating yourself up and give yourself permission to learn skills that help you adapt when life happens. And that brings us to the segment of the show called Homework, the work a woman does to build her home and family. And this week's homework is taking your turn on the 7 effective traits of parenting quiz. Just to recap all of the traits, it's intentionality, love, respect, boundaries, gratitude, grace and forgiveness, and adaptability. I think between this traits quiz and the information you gathered from the love languages quiz linked in last episode's show notes, you're better equipped to love and care for yourself and for your family. I'll leave the link to the traits assessment in the show notes for this episode at vinelifefaith.com/episode 30. It's quick. It took me all of 5 minutes to do the assessment. It may take you a few minutes more, but do yourself a favor, okay? Do not overthink the questions, trying to pick the right answer. This isn't about whether or not you're a good mom. Only a good mom would care to know how you could improve. So we've settled that. You're a good mom. So just think of it as an opportunity to add tools to your tool belt. I had fun dropping my mask with you today to wrap up this 2-part series on moms helping moms. A mom just like you shared a recommendation that sparked episodes for you. And that's what moms do best, right? Sharing info with each other to help us do what we do easier and better. And if you're enjoying this podcast, tap the share button right now to send the link to your mom friends, because look, there's not a mom alive who couldn't use encouragement and conviction concerning her path on her motherhood journey. And please remember, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care. Thanks for making this podcast part of your day today. Before you go, please be sure to rate and subscribe to the podcast. That way you get notified about new episodes while helping other moms discover the show. Motherhood Unmasked is sponsored by Vine Life Faith, where we're breaking negative cycles and building healthy community through connection with Christ. vinelifefaith.com